Hello, welcome to another FPL Masterplan podcast. I am Dashend, aka Alex.
I'm Steve.
And my name is Marc.
Okay, so shall we dive in and look at the game week that we just had? So we just had Gameweek 2, and it ended with quite a spectacular game that I know Steve wants to talk about straight away because he is a Liverpool fan.
Yeah,
Right.
It was quite a as a Liverpool fan, it's quite an interesting game to watch. To be honest, Newcastle were by far the better team, even though, in my opinion, they're playing what I call like Tony Pulis football. I think there was a stat where the ball was only in play for 40% of the time. It was like a shocking statistic. Like literally the last time it was that low was Stoke, like back in the early 2010s. To be honest, Eddie Howe. He's a good manager and a good guy, and I fully respect that tactic. I think he did rile them up a bit too much, though. I don't know what other people's opinion was about that. They were a little bit dirty, and the referee did not have a good grasp on the game at all. I think in contentious period, I think for me, red card is pretty straightforward. I don't think there's much argument. But has anyone got any other opinions on the red card?
Yeah, no, I agree with the red card. I mean, you could see the mark that Gordon left on Van Dijk, and I would agree with pretty much everything you said, to be fair. I mean, as a Bournemouth fan, I appreciate Eddie Howe, but he has evolved as a manager. When he had a break after leaving Bournemouth, he actually went to Spain to study the way Diego Simeone managed. And you can really see that in the way he manages now, because there is some dark arts to how he plays. But in a way, in modern football, you do need a little bit of that sometimes. But yeah, they did play well though, Newcastle. I agree with what you said about that.
Very well, very well.
But, considering the no Isak, they've looked really good in both games. They are unlucky to have only got 1 point from 2 games.
Yeah,
I think the same story against Villa.
I think if they had Isak, they definitely in the first half, and we were on the ropes for that first half. If they had Isak instead of Gordon up front, then they would have scored a few more, and it probably would have been game over, if I'm honest. We got a very lucky, undeserved goal. I mean, to be honest, the deflection probably didn't matter in the end from Gravenberch's shot, but it was completely off, not in a run of play at all. And obviously, in sending off, didn't really impact the game. I didn't really notice.
No.
The 10 men compared to 11.
Not at all.
Playing exactly the same.
Even at 2-2, 11 minutes came up and I thought, this is going to be good for Liverpool. But no, after 2-2, it looked like Newcastle were going to get the winner. And it was
to end. I was happy with the draw at that point. Very
quite out of the blue, the goal. But it was a good goal. And I did enjoy the game, I have to say, because it was quite romantic. Is he 16, the scorer?
Yeah, he's 16. Yeah, thing is, Ria Engamoa, he's someone I watched most of the preseason games. He was by far the best player in preseason. All Liverpool fans would say he's an extremely exciting player. Who's that? Is that Arsenal kid? He's 15. Is it Max?
Dowman, yeah.
Yeah,
Dowman.
I think it's a similar sort of excitement at Liverpool to Max Dowman at Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal fans will say Max Dowman is world class already and is better, but I've seen Engamoa play. He gives everything, and I think yesterday, that was a sublime finish. To win the game at St James's Park, and also that Szoboszlai dummy was that made the goal. That made the goal.
Yeah. Right. Shall we get into how our game weeks went?
Well, not great.
I don't think any of us want to go first. Like last time, I was happy to go first, but I had a shocker. This week, and by the look of your expressions, I think I'm not the only one.
Go on, Mark, you go first. Well volunteered.
Go on then. So where to start? So I think we're in the same boat. I think a lot of the big players didn't really perform. So this week I got 45 points. So in goal I had Sanchez. So he got me 3 points. So that's not a bad start, considering I think Chelsea conceded, was it just that one goal? And then in defence, I had 4 at the back. So I had I had Steve for Burnley, so he got me a clean sheet. And then it was quite a blessing in disguise, actually. I was just saying to Alex, because of Cole Palmer didn't play, Mickey van der Ven came as was my first sub. So I was very fortunate for him to come in and get me 6 points for the game against City. And then the other 2 I had was Milan. Oh, can I pronounce it? Is it Milan? What's that Nottingham Forest? I can never pronounce his name. That's the one.
Milenkovic.
That's it. So I had him for Forest. He got me 2 points. Richards for Crystal Palace. Chris Richards. He got me 2 points. And so my midfield, I had Mo Salah, which I think was kind of helped me that I made him captain. So he got me 10 points because I think I correct me if I'm wrong, he got that assist.
He did,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think he kind of saved me really in the fantasy football, because if he didn't do anything, I probably would have got less than, well, to be honest, I would have got probably less than 40 points. So he was almost my saving grace. And then I had Everton's. Thankfully, I kept faith with him. I had, and is it Ndiaye?
I looked it up, and because they release a video every year how you pronounce their names, and they and it's actually Njai apparently, which
Ndiaye.
I respect. Yeah.
So the other 2 midfielders I had was Anderson for Forest, which again, obviously, he only got me 2 points. Unfortunately, no DEFCON attributes or no points from there, so that was disappointing. But I think the most infuriating one was because I had Bruno Fernandes in, and him missing that penalty really kind of screwed my things up, really, because obviously if he scored and kept the clean sheet, I would have got a bit more points. So that was really frustrating. And then my front 2 was Ollie Watkins and Jared Bowen. And again, it was a shame that Watkins flopped again, didn't score. But again, Jared Bowen again just blanked. So that was really disappointing. But I think overall, I got near, 45 points. I think on average is not too bad, considering I suppose how everyone else has done.
Better than me.
Well, it's something. That's something. So I'll take it. But yeah, not great. I think I'm ruining not having João Pedro in now. I think it's becoming quite blatant that most people have got him in their squads now, and I think I need to jump on that bandwagon and definitely get him in.
That's a question, to be honest. There's a lot of options up front compared to
Yeah,
last year.
Like, I have to say, I'm realizing that because I like there's some players like Ekatike who I'm so hot on, and even like Haaland, he's got Burnley game week 6, and I'm thinking, who would I take out for Haaland? It's really tricky because it feels like we can't always have someone. Yeah, we've kind of got to sacrifice somewhere. Yeah, it's tricky. It is a tricky one.
I think it's well balanced this year. I think they've done very well to balance.
Yeah,
it's very tricky.
I agree. I remember there was one year where there wasn't any good strikers, and we had one predominant striker. I can't remember who it was, and then we had Antonio, and Antonio barely did anything, but there was no better choice as a striker, so everyone just kept him, and he just kept blanking. But yeah, awesome. So Marc, so after that game week, you told me you might even be contemplating the wildcard button potentially.
Yeah, so I think it's as mentioned before in our previous chat. I think it all depends on the fitness of Cole Palmer. I think so. What my current strategy is for next game week is I think I'm going to take Jared Bowen out and just do a straight swap for him for João Pedro. That is going to be probably that's my one free transfer. But if Cole Palmer is going to be out longer, then my plan is, and I'm really contemplating actually, is take Cole Palmer out and make basically a few more changes. So I'm thinking of basically because at the moment my other striker I've got is Marc. Is it how do you pronounce it? Marc Gay?
I think it's just Goo.
Marc Goo. So because I just tried to use most of my money in the front 11 and try and keep my bench as cheap as possible. I'm thinking of, so if Cole Palmer is injured for next week, I'm thinking of going 3 strikers up front. So if I take out Bowen out, he'll be a straight swap for João Pedro. So, and then my third choice striker, I've been trying to look at the best one. It's between Mateta or Chris Wood.
So, Chris Wood's got very good fixtures. Like Forest got very good fixtures in next few game weeks.
You could just bench him, and the other 3 are like literally the best ones you could imagine, really.
And Steve, I think, and what I'm doing is swapping Cole Palmer out, and there's a player that I don't think many people's got, or he could be rising, and he's done well so far. Is Gakpo for Liverpool?
Yeah,
he's already got. I mean, I don't know how many points he's got, but he's already up there as. Let's have a look. So if I quickly look at his. So he scored 2 goals yesterday. So he scored 7 points against Bournemouth and then 10 points against Newcastle. I'm looking at his fixtures. I mean, the Arsenal game's going to be tricky, but then you've got Burnley, Everton, Crystal Palace, and I'm thinking I'm quite tempted to go for Cody Pakpo. So swap him out.
Yeah, I think he's good value. He's good value
and
as Liverpool attacker.
Also, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but he played actually nearly the whole game. So he played longer than Ekitike and Wirtz, didn't he? So, that's a good sign that Slot seems to not be subbing him off too early, because the main concern with Gakpo is what will happen when Isak signs. I know we keep talking about it, but, until that transfer window goes, I think we're still a little bit cautious about Ekitike and Gakpo, but we've got to be mentioning them at this point now because it's getting closer and Isak might not sign. And if he doesn't sign, those 2 look like the main guys at the moment. Dare I say it? Salah might improve, but at the moment, if there's 2 players who score an open play goal, it feels like those 2 are the ones most likely to be involved. Obviously, penalties is a big part in FPL. And Salah will get a lot of penalties. But at the moment, if you in open play, I have to say Gakpo and Ekitike look the 2 players who are most likely to get involved.
Yeah, I think the thing is with the situation is it's hard to pin down Liverpool side until we find out if Isak's signing. If Isak signs, then it's either going to be because Isak's going to play every game, more than likely. And I don't think Ekitike, with his finishing ability, is going to be sub. He will start some games instead of Gakpo, a bit like Diaz and Gakpo last season. I would see either Isak or Ekitike on the left wing. Because Salah's play every game, no matter what. He plays every game. Like his fitness is insane. But because we haven't replaced Diaz, Gakpo at the moment is pretty nailed. There's no one else in that position. I mean, Wirtz could play there, but he's a number 10 primarily. So I doubt he's going to be there. And Chiesa's a right winger / striker, so he's not going to play left wing either. So really, it all depends on if Isak signs, because that will impact Ekitike's minutes and Gakpo's minutes combined. So it is a massive call, and hence I have pushed the wildcard button already, and that is one of my main things that I'm waiting for the end of this game week. Like, when's the window shut? Is it after the game week cut off?
It's a good point. I will have to look that up.
I think it's early this year. I think it
Is
ends
it?
at like 7 p.m. on. I don't know what day it is though.
Normally the last day in August, isn't it? What have we got? Transfer dead, because they do seem to change it every year.
I thought it was like something like 11 o'clock just before midday on the actual day of deadline day. So well, unless I'm mistaken,
Yeah.
that's what they normally do.
1st of September. It says here, 7 p.m. BST.
Okay, so that's after the game week cut off. So I will need to be taking a risk here. With what I'm hoping that we get a definitive answer on Isaac in the next few days, but I think it could go to literally the last day.
I agree.
It seems like that type of saga.
You know what? I think you're doing the right thing. I mean, if I was in Wildcard, I would go for Ekatike, because you've got to go with how well he's playing at the moment. I can't see him not starting against Burnley, and that Burnley game, I think he's a good captain shout at the moment. At the moment, I would feel safer captaining Ekatike against Burnley than I would Salah, quite frankly.
On form, yeah, I'd agree. The problem is it's the penalty situation. Also, Salah gets a lot of assists, and he will just score out of absolutely nothing. He's a safe pick. And FTK has gone off early in every game, Liverpool game so far.
Yeah. It's but it's interesting. I saw something on X earlier. Every time he's gone off, Liverpool conceded. So some people saying he shouldn't be getting subbed off, which is an interesting point. I mean, it takes a brave man to not captain Salah, because, like you say, penalties are a big part of the game, and Salah, does have them. And again, Burnley, maybe you'd get a penalty. I just look at him, and he's playing a lot wider. And Ekatike just seems very involved. And that's 3 games now. Ekatike outscored Salah, the Community Shield as well. So it doesn't seem like just a coincidence at this point. So if he does it again against Arsenal, I think that would be enough to tempt me. But obviously, once again, as a disclaimer, we don't know what's happening with Isaac. But yeah, I definitely think it's worth having Ekatike in the team, Steve. So at least you've got that option, even if you do end up captain Salah. But yeah,
worst case, Chris Wood is cheaper, and I'm more than happy to have him in the team at the moment as well with the fixtures he's got.
Yeah, he's a very good option. But yeah, shall we move on to my team?
Go for it.
Yeah,
we can because if I look at my transfer plans after looking at my game week, and then Steve, we can look at how yours went, and then we can look at your wild card. Okay?
Absolutely, yeah, sounds good.
Let's do it. Okay, so we don't need to look at mine for too long. If we're talking FPL, what even counts as a return? I mean, if a player scores 3 points, does that count as a return?
I don't think so.
It's something.
I wouldn't count
that. Let's assume that doesn't count as a return. I got 2 returns, and one of them was Salah, who a lot of people captained. So really, it would have been better that he didn't do anything.
Who's your captain?
My captain was Ollie Watkins. It nearly was Salah, and to be fair, I'm not too annoyed about it because it was fine lines. But I was scared on that Monday night though. That was the worst bit, when you captain someone on a Saturday and you've got to wait until Monday, because Salah could have done really well like he did last year against Newcastle. Last time he went to St James's Park, he hauled. So I was nervous, but that's fine. I can take the assist. Porro got me 5 points. Annoyingly, Van der Ven, I was starting for most of the week, but I did go for Juve in the end because I thought he was more likely to get an attacking return. Annoyingly, I was right, but also that it wasn't enough in a way. because he got 3 points. He got an assist against Chelsea, but they got absolutely walloped, as you know. So it was only 3 points for Juve, and it's annoying because I did have a feeling that Tottenham could do it, but because I was already starting Porro, I went for Juve as well. But I should have gone Van de Ven. I should have gone double Tottenham defence. It just felt a bit too.
Not against City, I think no one would have really predicted that.
Yeah,
I mean,
just
Spurs,
the
we knew
fact
Spurs
that I
started
had
well,
that
but
defence. Like originally, and to be fair, originally Konsa would have been my player, and it probably would have been the same outcome. And Konsa, even if Konsa had been in the team, I guess they would have conceded. So, yeah, basically, I had a poor defence. It was a choice of Van de Ven and Juve. So just one of those where it is what it is. Yeah. Bowen, Wood, Verts, Rogers, Reinders, Murillo, all in my team, all blanking. Sanchez got 3 points. So yeah. It was always a week. My team didn't look great on paper, so in that sense it wasn't too bad. But never too enjoyable to have a bad week. But we move on, and I've got 2 free transfers, and I've already made them.
already, whoa, okay.
Bit of a risk, but I wanted to get a price drops. At the beginning of the season, sometimes they do go early. I think it's a risky strategy sometimes, but I've gone for it. I've gone for Bowen out.
Good shout.
You can probably guess who I brought in. João Pedro comes in for Bowen. So, same as Marc, assuming you go down that path. And I've taken out Verts.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I've got Cunha.
Cunha.
So, wow.
Interesting.
That's a sneaky one.
Yeah. So it was always my plan. I nearly brought in Mbermo for Verts last game week. I was very close to it, but it was actually a fact I couldn't pick between Mbermo and Cunha that actually put me off. I had kind of had enough of Verts already. But I gave him another game, and he's not proved me that he should be in my team. So unfortunately,
is Cunha playing up front for United? I haven't watched United games, to be honest.
So I do expect Šeško to start soon. But I still feel more comfortable with Cunha. It's a close one, him v Mbermo. I'm not going for Fernandes because he's playing a bit deeper. So he may do well. It might be one of those games where he gets a penalty, gets a free kick. But I just think for chance of an open play goal, it's less likely for Bruno. And then you look at Mbermo and Cunha, and I just think quality of players, I just think Cunha's a little bit more clinical. I think Mbermo got a lot of penalties last year. And he don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but I think I can own, I'm not going to take a hit. So I've got to choose between the two. And I've gone for Cunha. Mbermo being on corners, though, did tempt me. He's on quite a few corners, so that was tempting, but I've gone for Cunha. And there's a good chance I'll be captaining him as well. So let's see how that goes.
Now, what I was just going to say, just going back to your question, Steve. So Cunha and Mbermo play both the number 10 roles. So basically, United have one up front, and then they have 2 behind him. And I think I can't remember if they can switch. So I think Mbermo plays on the right side of the number 10, and I think Cunha plays on the left.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'm quite. I'm not surprised you put her in. My only worry is United have got quite a tough fixtures. I think after the Burnley game, I think we've got something like.
Yeah, I'll get it up.
I think we've got like City away, and then we've got I think there's another, and then we've got Chelsea at home. So, I'm I wouldn't have been surprised if you made the Cunha a week before, last week for the Fulham game. So that would be my only caution is the Burnley game, yes, but the others I'm a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit of a risk. If I'm being honest, I think it's a little bit risky.
Yeah. Well, what I will mention as well is I may be free hitting in game week 4 as well.
Oh,
So,
really? Wow.
but obviously this year you get 2 free hits, and my rationale is you get extra transfers this year.
Mm.
I can't remember what game week it is. Something like 15, 16. So I think because of that situation with the extra transfers, and I've still got a wild card, I think I'm happy to not have that free hit at that period. So I'm happy to use my free hit quite early. So at the moment, game week 4 and game week 6 look quite good for me, for my team to free hit. So yeah, at the moment, there's a good chance I might be free hitting when Man United have City away anyway. However, what I would say is City, if you look at, City, he just played at home against Tottenham. Tottenham played, very well attacking wise on the counter. And I think United last year looked very good against big teams under Amorim, especially City. The last time you went, correct me if I'm wrong, you did. Was it away? Yeah, away you won against City. Is that correct?
Oh crikey, I can't remember actually.
I think it was. Yeah, I think that was the game you. I think it was at the Etihad when you beat them. I remember Ahmad scored.
I think what bodes well for United is that the bigger teams seem to play a bit more open, a bit more attacking, and I think that over the years that's been Man United's best way to win is on the counter attack. Whereas a lot of teams like the Fulhams and the lower teams, they'll just sit back, and United then have to try and break teams down, which unfortunately United just can't seem able to do. So you could be right there. I think City, it's a derby. United will hopefully be up for it. The players, the fans. So yeah, who knows? I mean, and I think you picking Kuna is probably. I would say so far this season, he's been our best player. I know it's early days, but I've watched the 2 games, and I would say he's the one that's more likely to score than any other players. So yeah, I think Kuna is a good shout because he's cheaper than Bruno Fernandes. But yeah, the only thing that worries me is the fixtures. I just think, if United don't do well this next weekend against Burnley, or if United don't pick up any points, fantasy wise, then that'll be something to consider myself. I'm like, do I want to keep Bruno Fernandes in for the next 2 game weeks?
Yeah, I feel they're a bit expensive, both in Burma and Cunha. That's why I haven't put them in my team because I've been very tempted. I think they're a little bit too expensive. If they're 7.5, I think they're in a lot more teams.
I think they're 8 million both. If I'm right. So I only put. So I was just going to say I only put Bruno Fernandes in because he's going to be a sure starter. He takes free kicks, penalties, and I was hoping we spoke about this earlier that these DEFCON attributes would kind of help at this, but at this moment in time hasn't really. Well, I don't think it's paid any dividends as of yet.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because he did get the DEFCON points, but it wasn't very noticeable because he missed the penalty. So he finished on 2 points. but but yeah, that's what the standard kind of blank is. But he technically didn't blank because in one regards because he got the DEFCON score. It was quite funny how it worked out. Well, not for you, Marc.
Yeah. So in a way, like you said, I think the DEFCON point kind of helped me ever so slightly because I would have been on.
Yeah, did in the end. Yeah,
I would have been probably on maybe on minus points. So yeah, I think maybe I've got to eat my own words and say DEFCON kind of did me a favor actually.
Yeah, 0. You would have been on 0 for Fernandes. You would have been on 0.
So yeah, I think we'll see. I just just going back to Man United, it's just a big game next weekend. I think we have to beat Burnley.
Yeah.
I'd hope so. Yeah, I mean, after all the signings Amram's made,
Yeah.
it's absolute must win.
I totally agree. He can't. He got no excuses really. You know, after spending so much money on an attacking lineup, I can't. You know, I get it. Players have got to bed in like Sesko, but when you've got Kuna and Mbeumo who have Premier League proven, you know, I just can't. If they don't win, I'll be absolutely gutted, and there will be. I wouldn't say it'd be crisis, but people will be talking more, thinking, you know,
Get Mark Goldbridge like a kind of crisis at Man United.
he'd do anything for a headline. Old Goldbridge, yeah, it was. I watch a lot of his clips, and I like him, but I think he does it for just to get the headlines. In my
Right.
opinion, anyway.
Over to yours, Steve.
Yeah, it's been a I think I decided pretty early on. To be honest, halfway through game week 2, I was like, right, I need to wild card here. I think the Frimpong injury and Palmer injury kind of made a decision for me more so because I was really betting quite hard this year on Palmer. Even though I think he's only out for a cup, maybe until after the international break. I just after what happened last season, he wasn't in form, and I just don't think he's taken up too much of my budget when I can spread that around a lot more, especially with the amount of good attackers this year from the big teams. So in terms of game week 2, I only scored 40 points, which is slightly better than you, Alex, but it's not great. I think I'm bottom of our mini league at the moment, which I've never been in that position before. Usually I'm quite near the top. Hence why I've had people say, "Oh, it's a panic." It's a panic. He's wildcarding now in a panic, but I feel like the team I've made now, based on the fixtures and form, is a lot more well-rounded. And I made a lot of mistakes in my game week 1 lineup, which I do regret now. But the only players who really got me any returns this week were Declan Rice, which I still think is a very good pick. I know there's some people that say about like the defensive midfielders, they're potentially not worth getting, but especially with the def cons. I mean, Rice doesn't really he's not really that type of player, but he's on corners. And obviously, as we all know, Arsenal are set piece FC. And he got an assist. He scored from a corner. And Rice got an assist. So that got me 6 points in the end. And he's only 6.5. So I think he's a cheap way into the Arsenal team. Because I do think you do need someone in the Arsenal team. And also I got Salah, who got the assist. And to be honest, if it was my decision, I would give Szoboszlai the assist with that dummy. But I'm glad Salah actually got a return because I would have been even more screwed than I was.
Yeah.
My standout player was Gyökeres. If I didn't have Gyökeres in my team, it would have been an absolute disaster game week.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I went with that punt. It was a punt, a definite punt. I don't think that many people had Gyökeres in our mini league. But in terms of players that I'm keeping in my wild card, there's very few, if I'm honest. The only players I'm keeping is Gyökeres, Salah, and some of the defenders. Everyone else has been completely stripped out, so it's a complete revamp of my team. So at the moment, I've switched to Kelleher in goal instead of Verbruggen. I think Verbruggen and Keller are pretty much on the same level, but coming from my Liverpool experience, I know Keller's a very good shot stopper. So he'll get some additional points there, I think, instead versus Verbruggen, but that's more of a personal punt choice, I guess. My defenders, I'm only really going for cheap defenders. I'm not doing any premium defenders. I'm just doing 4.5s and Esteve. the 4, because I think for 4 million, I think everyone's got Steve at this point.
Mm.
And I'm going to be switching them out. Depends on fixtures.
Same.
Yeah.
So I've always usually gone premium defenders. Like I started with Frimpong, but that didn't work out. I kind of wish I had maybe like a Gabriel in my team,
Yeah.
or Cucurella even, but
Yeah.
I don't have the budget for it because I've gone very hard in attack.
Yeah.
So I've currently got Matty Cash. He's been a bit of a fantasy league favorite, I'd say, over the past few years. He always seems to be in teams, and he does get results quietly. But I'm not that locked in on Matty Cash at the moment, but he's in there as a placeholder at the moment.
What about Konza? Because he's back from suspension, isn't he?
Yeah, he will be. I think it's worth a conversation. I mean, I'm trying to remember who played. Oh yeah, it was Konza who played right back quite a lot last year, and Cash was benched quite a bit.
Yeah,
But at the start of this year, Cash started. So it's a tricky one because I don't want to tell you don't go for Cash. You know, he's a rotation risk because sometimes, you know, things change and the upside of Cash is better than Konsa because, you know, Cash is like he's a bit like a winger, isn't he, in a way? Like he's got the abilities of a winger and he's got an attacking player. So if he had the same nailedness as Konsa, I'd say definitely Cash. However,
yeah.
I don't think he does. So it's a tricky one. I think it's one you've got to weigh up. Do you want to go for a nailed guy or the one who could maybe get the starts, but it's a bit more of a risk and he's more attacking?
Yeah, I think that's why I've gone for like a bunch of 4.5s and 4s along across the board, so I can switch them out very easily. And if I need to, I can make a transfer. But yeah, these slots are not locked in. I think the only defenders I've really locked in is Van der Ven and potentially Richards. I've also got Senesi, which I think is quite low owned. I don't think that many people have Senesi, but
it's good.
he is obviously nailed at Bournemouth, and Bournemouth have done better than I was expecting at the start of the season, considering they replaced their entire defense pretty much. And he seems quite solid pick. So he'll be good for rotation as a 4.5 million, just personally.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
Where does he play? Is he a fullback?
He's centre back.
Yeah, centre back. But to be fair, like I think it was 2 years ago, he got a few assists for Solanke because he played some brilliant balls as well. But yeah, he's good for DEFCONs, it seems, at least by judging by Saturday's performance against Wolves. He looked really he was like an action man. He was everywhere. He looked really good and he did well on DEFCON. So I think it's a really good pick. I think Stev, I think I need to have a look at his fixtures because I think Burnley are going to... I know they kept a clean sheet in Sunderland and last year they did well in the Championship, but I don't know...
He's an enabler, to be honest. I mean, he's an enabler.
Careful. If you get a couple of injuries, suddenly, before you know it, you end up relying on a bench.
He's nailed, though. That's the thing. So he may be fodder, but he is nailed.
Yeah, but Marc, you know, when he's got an injury to Palmer and Esteve might come on, and do you feel good with the concept of Esteve coming on?
If I had 2 injuries in that position, I'd have more worries, I think, and more fires to put out. I would make a transfer before it got to that point, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I need to look at who's your other bench players. Are they more reliable?
So my defense is Cash, Van der Ven, Richards, Senesi, Esteve. And also in a midfield slot, I've got Tavernier.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Tavernier is not bad at the moment, at least. He seems to be a good option. I think he's got quite nice fixtures. So, yeah, I think, you know, it makes sense to have one player, you know, who's very cheap. That shouldn't hurt you too much. But, yeah, I mean... Yeah, I just not convinced the Stev's going to get as many clean sheets as people might think. I don't know if people think they're going to get clean sheets because he got a clean sheet against Sunderland, but I think that might have been a one-off. That's all I'm saying. But as long as you don't for him, that's fine.
I think if I had the money, I would have another 4.5, and that'll be even more rotation, but based on fixtures.
Yeah.
But I just didn't have the budget in the end,
That's
mainly
fair.
due to Reinders. I should have started with him. It was a mistake to not start with him because he's had 2 price rises.
Yeah, it's still a long way to go. Also, what I was going to say, I think the main premium defender you might want is an Arsenal one, and you're probably good to risk it for a little bit because of their fixtures. But I think it's game week 7 onwards, you probably do want one. So it's probably having a plan for that because game week 7 they've got West Ham at home, then they've got Fulham away, then they've got Palace at home, then they've got Burnley away, then Sunderland away. So they've got a few good fixtures in there. So yeah, I think it's good to kind of save money in defence if that's your plan. But I would have a plan maybe for game week 7 for an Arsenal defender.
Yeah, that's how I usually play. I usually do have an Arsenal defender in. It does make sense. And loads of clean sheets. Arsenal got extremely good defence. They're probably the best defence in the league, I'd say. But I needed the budget in this case because I wanted to make a big change to my tactics and go full out on attack. And I also wildcarded early to capture a lot of price rises before they occurred. Which I did actually do. So, for example, I caught Haaland's price rise and Kudus's price rise before they occurred. And also took out Vert before he went down last night.
Yeah.
So currently I've got in my midfield is Anderson, who is a pretty safe choice. I think he's going to get DEFCON, not much attacking returns, but he is nailed at the moment in Forest's team.
Good as well.
Yeah, he's affordable at 5.5.
Yeah,
I've got Reinders.
And DEFCONs should be good enough in the next few games at least. He's been very unlucky as well. I mean, 11 DEFCONs in the first game, 11 in the second. So the threshold is 12. So he's not got any DEFCON points yet, but he's been very unlucky.
Yeah, I did want to get a Forest player in because they do have a good defense as well. And their defenders are quite a bit more expensive. I think the cheapest is 5.
That's right.
And that's Nico Williams, I think.
Yeah.
And who I did have game week 1. So I've got Anderson, I've got Reinders because I just know he's going to be this year. I think he's going to be this year's Rodgers until City starts doing a bit more rotation. Then at that point, it might be worth re-looking at. But I think at the moment it's a play.
Yeah.
I've got Salah, obviously, or I've had Salah forever in every single year, and Kudus, who I think is very good value in a very good Spurs side. Brennan Johnson is more expensive, and I think they're probably on par. I mean, Johnson's probably more of a rotation risk than Kudus, depending if they buy anyone else, I think.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think it is one of those 50-50 kills that you just hope doesn't go wrong. I mean, Brennan Johnson is a bit more of a poacher. But yeah, like you said, maybe a more rotation risk. So I think it's quite 50-50. And like you said, more expensive, isn't he, Brennan Johnson? Yeah, maybe on balance, just about Kudus. But there was something about Brennan Johnson. He just comes across as very much a goal scorer.
Yeah, I mean, I think for that 6.5 slot, there is quite a few options. I think the SAR as well. Who I have looked at.
Good shout.
But I thought Kudus is probably better, and also catching the price rise. If I did take him out now, I would lose that benefit of doing the early wild card with that. So I'll probably keep Kudus at this point. Okay. And as mentioned earlier, Tavernier, He started the season really well. Very, very cheap. I mean, he's central mids at Bournemouth. I don't watch Bournemouth a huge amount, but he seems to get in the thick of it. He's pretty nailed, is he, Alex? I think he is.
Well, that's the main kind of disadvantage of him is, we've signed a couple more players. We've signed Doak and we've signed Adley. Tavernier, he can play cam, and he can play out wide. Like we always bought him generally as a wide player. He's playing well at the moment. I mean, the amount of DEFCONs he got in the first game, that was incredible. No, I don't think anyone expected him to get 20 DEFCONs. I think it was against Liverpool. I mean, he's playing well. So at the moment, he's a good short-term pick. I'm not sure long-term, I'll be honest. I don't know if we're going to sign any more attacking players. I don't think so. But at the moment, I think the shirt is his.
Yeah, I think it was a choice because obviously with my budget constraints, because you'll see in a minute, I've gone very, very high on my forwards. It was either Tavernier or Caicedo. Now I quite like Caicedo, but I know he's not going to get anywhere near the attacking returns as Tavernier. He might have more DEFCON opportunity. And Caicedo does come up with the occasional goal, but it's not reliable. You can't rely on goals from Caicedo. He's a defensive midfielder. Whereas Tavernier does play a bit more forward. So I thought he's probably the better option at this point for my team as a first bench option.
Yeah,
I will rationale on it.
I will do some further research and message you, Steve. But yeah, like Tavernier, I think for his price, I mean, it's a good price. It's just a case if you had a bit of spare cash, you can maybe upgrade to a Grealish or an NJ at 6.5 because I think they've got Wolves next as well, and I think they're really good value. NJ is on penalties. The only thing with NJ though is he got subbed off quite early, which
did he
happened last year as well, and that's the only slight downfall with him at the moment is why does he get taken off so early in Jai?
Yeah, I think again it depends like that budget because my forward line I've got Ekatike currently. Now if we sign Isak, I'm more likely to switch Ekatike for Chris Wood, and that would free up budget to upgrade Tavernier. So I mean I could just do Chris Wood now, which is probably overall the better option. But from what I've seen of Ekatike, he will score a huge amount of goals with his finishing is very, very good. Considering the amount of opportunities he gets, especially the Newcastle game, he didn't really get sniff at goal. That's my reasoning there. It all depends on what happens to the Isak situation near the end of the week. So this is not locked in.
No,
I just wanted to get the wild card in early to catch any price drops, which I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Also, looked up the fixtures, and I would like to apologise to Electric Steve, aka Estev. He has got Leeds at home in Gameweek 8, so you might want to play him in their Gameweek 8, and even Forest maybe Gameweek 5 at home. You might even want to play him. Wolves in Gameweek 9, so he might be useful. I think. Yeah, poor old Electric Steve.
Also, he apparently applies on Twitter as well because there was some worry he was injured, and he was like, "Nah, I'm fine, mate." So you can when a player is like it's coming from the horse's mouth, as it were, like that's great.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
Haaland. Again, I'm going Salah and Haaland, and I've got Gyökeres as well.
Oh, crikey!
So you see my front three. I'm playing three attackers: Haaland, Gyökeres, and Ekatike currently.
Interesting one. It's an interesting one.
So it's not a balanced team by any means, and I probably would say this is not template. This is definitely a bit off-piste, but considering I've completely changed my tactics from the start. And as I said, FTK is not nailed in this side yet, so we'll see what happens.
So how many Man United players do you have then, Steve?
Absolutely zero.
What a surprise!
Hey, that's a surprise.
They're too expensive. They're too expensive. I mean, I probably maybe Dorgu I'd maybe consider, but
yeah, I think he's a good one to consider because he's obviously one of the wing backs. So, I mean, he looked good during pre-season, but I suppose pre-season's totally different in the leagues. I think he did all right. Was it against Arsenal first game of the season? He did look quite dangerous, but fantasy football wise, obviously, it's not a great start by any means. I think if you're going to pick a Man United player, either him or like Alex has picked Kuna, I think that's a good shout. Or either Bruno Fernandes. But others really, you can't really. Unfortunately, United are not really going to keep any clean sheets at the way we're playing this season. So that's unless there's any attacking returns like Dorgo, that's that's no point putting defenders in.
Yeah, and I think you cut quite well earlier, Mark, but the fixtures aren't great after Burnley, but especially not great with keeping a clean sheet, because even though I think they will surprise people a bit, I think, against City and Chelsea, I wouldn't be banking on a clean sheet against City or Chelsea.
No, I don't see it either. I think both teams will be quite attacking. They'll play, no, I just don't personally. I just don't see it. I can't, not with the way our goalkeeper situation is. Even if we do get this young lad from was it Belgium side? Is it Antwerp?
Yeah.
I mean, he'll just be an understudy. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens when he comes, because I think he didn't play last weekend. He was out of the squad, so it does seem pretty imminent that he'll come to Man United. It's just a matter of when, not if. And it will be interesting to see what the dynamics are, with Onana and the Turkish guy that we've got.
Bayender.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he starts again, Bayender, for next week's game against Burnley. We'll see. But yeah, going back to clean sheets, I just don't, at this moment, I don't see it with Man United. Just, I think the closest you're going to get is possibly attacking returns, and that's with either Kuna or Mbeumo, because they do look, they do look quite positive. It's when I watched the Arsenal game, it was so positive to see United attack and create so many chances and actually have a go at the defence, whereas last season United couldn't do that. So it's still early days, it's still only 2 games of the season, so I'm hoping that things will pick up. I would say the only time will be to start panicking is if we get to October or November time and United are, still in the bottom half of the table. That's when I think, serious talks will be, all serious pressure will be on Amarin, whether or not he can turn it around or not.
Yeah, he needs time, I think.
I think he needs time. Yeah, I totally agree. I just think we've got to see the progress as well at the same time. I'm willing to give Amarin time. I really want to, but he's basically been here now. He came in last season or halfway through the season. He clearly said he wanted to come this summer so he can get pre-season. He's got that now. He spent well over £200 million on basically up front. And I just want to see improvement, because you look at other managers, I look at Irola for Bournemouth. I look at Glasner for Crystal Palace. And even at the moment, Thomas Frank, instantly he's already, proving, making Tottenham look better. And at this moment, Amron's been less than a year, and I haven't really. Don't know about you guys. I haven't seen much improvement at all.
Know my thoughts on it. I do think you will finish the season without Amram as manager. I do feel that, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, the signings are good, and the positive signings might save him. But like you say, I think it's a good example about Thomas Frank. He's come in, and you've seen an impact where it hasn't mattered who it's been. They look good against PSG. They look really good against City, and even the small teams, they made it look easy, and that's the thing that sometimes United don't do, make it look easy against small teams. But yeah, it's interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how United do get on against Burnley. Yeah, shall we move on to our questions from the community?
Go for it.
Okay, so Joe has asked a question about CDMs. Okay, so Joe says, top CDMs in the Premier League are among the league's best and most important players, i.e. Rice, Rodri, Caicedo, Gravenberch, Guimaraes, etc. But are they worth having in FPL? And this is an interesting question because obviously DEFCONs, do impact CDMs in a positive way. It's also an interesting question because some of the players that he mentioned did score in at the weekend. Gravenberch scored, Caicedo scored, Guimaraes scored, and Rice got an assist. So he wants to go first.
Yeah, I think we've all got one, haven't we, in our teams?
I've got Anderson.
Don't know if you have. I don't. Yeah, Anderson we've got. I've had Rice. My reasoning has been he's on set pieces as well. So, and he will come up with a goal as well. I would still have Rice in my team if I could afford him, probably. I just wanted to get some part of the Arsenal team, whether it is in the midfield or up front. But I wouldn't put Gravenberch. I don't think Gravenberch is an option. I don't know how much he is, but he's definitely not 5.5, and he's definitely. I think it's his second goal for Liverpool yesterday.
Yeah, he scored. Was it? Oh, was it no goals last year? Or what? I think it was no goals last year.
Yeah, I mean, I would. The only players I can.
Yeah.
Rodri definitely not. I wouldn't consider Rodri either.
No, I wouldn't.
Caicedo I would consider because he does have a goal in him, and he does go forward sometimes to help out. But yeah, if the more absolute holding midfielders like Gravenberch and Rodri, I wouldn't look at. But it depends on the player and what the team is doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I just checked, and I was right originally. Actually, it was no goals last year. It was the season before he got a goal. He got 4 assists last year, but yeah, no goals last year. And price-wise, he's 5.5.
Oh, is he? Okay.
But I think the main thing with this topic is, and Annabelle mentioned it earlier to us, our friend Annabelle, is the slots in the team. So with Liverpool, for example, you can only have 3 Liverpool players. So I think players like Gravenberch, you don't really want to waste your Liverpool slot because you're looking at Salah, you're looking at players like Ekitike, Gakpo, Van Dijk, and I just feel with Gravenberch, the DEFCONs aren't consistent enough. I think we've seen that already, especially for a midfielder. You have to get 12 to just get 2 points, and that 2 points isn't enough really to make an asset good enough, even at 5.5, and considering that you're using up a Liverpool slot. So while it's tempting, you need something else. With Rice, that something else is set pieces, and we even saw in the Champions League he scored some. But the issue with Rice is he hasn't even been getting the DEFCONs because these big teams who do possession, they don't tend to actually be doing with defensive contributions as much. It's the teams who are defending a little bit more. So I'm not really considering the CDMs that Joe mentioned. However, out of the ones mentioned, I think he's 6.5. Guimaraes would be someone who I wouldn't completely rule out because Newcastle do have some really nice fixtures coming up. They've got Leeds, and I looked at his stats, and he got, I think it was 6 goals, 5 assists last year, or might have been the other way around. So he did get quite a lot of attacking returns, and he will pick up maybe some DEFCONs. I just look at, I think Joe's already got him in the team. Grealish at 6.5. I just think I'd rather have a Grealish or maybe an Njai, just because, I still think, like Mark said, I don't think DEFCONs is the main thing we really should be looking at the moment. I think we're still kind of evaluating it, and it's at the moment we're not really seeing it have a big effect, but we're taking our time kind of understanding the impact it's going to have on the game.
Yeah, I'm a bit with you, Steve. I think CDMs, it depends where they play on the pitch. I think, like you said, if you've got like a Roger who's more defensive, in that midfield who's a bit further back, it's not worth putting in. Whereas if you have a CDM who sits behind the striker and who's going to create those assists, then yes, I can understand having them in. But so it's really difficult. And again, it's like what they do as well, other than in the centre of midfield. If, like you said, if Rice takes corners or free kicks, then it's certainly worth having in. But if it's like a Casado who doesn't offer any set pieces, or I just don't see the appeal for it. And I think that's why maybe this is why the fantasy football have gone towards this CDM. They're trying to get these players involved, because I think over the years we've all gone for wingers, because they bomb down on the side of the pitch. They create the assists. A lot of them are good at crossing, so meaning that they'll also take corners. So I think we've always gone down that route. So like you said, I think it's early days for DEFCON. I don't think at this moment in time it's proved very tasteful, or it's not very appealing. But I think they showed a stat, didn't they, that Anderson or Caicedo were the best for DEFCON last season with an extra 40 points. So it could, if you're in a tight mini league, and those 40 points could make the difference.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those situations where you don't want to choose someone. Let's say I've done it this year, actually. You don't want to choose someone because of DEFCONs, and then they'd be less attacking and get less attacking points as well, because obviously attacking points are massive as well. So like Murillo v Milenkovic, both same priced. I went for Murillo because I thought Murillo would be great this year with DEFCONs. So if I haven't got any, luckily Milenkovic hasn't scored any goals yet, but one goal, and I'll be frustrated that I went for Murillo because of the DEFCONs. Because it does seem like he's been quite slow with the DEFCONs at the moment. So we've got to be careful we don't end up kind of overestimating it as well. So wait and see. Anyone got any other thoughts before we move on to the next question?
Well, I personally, I think overall, if you're giving me the answer is, would I prefer CDM? Probably not. I just don't think because I just don't think they offer enough. Again, depending what that midfielder does, do they take any set pieces? I personally would stay clear of them, because over the years, the wingers have been more productive. So, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't go for CDMs.
No, and Rangers is doing very well as a cheap option. Dewsbury Hall, I'm not sure on, but at the moment they're the two cheap ones I've got. So I haven't got a CDM, but I still think attacking threat is massive. Guimaraes, because he takes set pieces as well. you know, I do think you know, he is quite a good option to some degree, but not my first option.
Yeah. I've looked at GTB Hall. I did look at. He's only 5 mil.
Yeah.
I just not convinced about the returns. I think if you got a bench, if you need someone for the bench, like a cheap op to enable, I think GTB Hall is perfectly acceptable because he will start. And it will get some returns, but not as consistent as you would want. So yeah, it's definitely one to watch, I think.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So shall we move on to our next question? Okay.
Yep.
So our next question, this one is from Sagnick. He said he was wondering about Watkins. He whether to hold or sell Watkins, because he Sagnick said Villa do have some decent fixtures, so you know, are those good enough reason to keep Watkins?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I mean, I've got Watkins in, and he still has a very nice fixture list ahead of him. So, you know, I can see now that they've got Crystal Palace at home, and then they are away to Everton, and then obviously the juicy one is away to Sunderland. So it's a real difficult one. I think I'm hoping he starts scoring next weekend. So
yeah,
my answer would be yes, because you know those fixtures I just look too good to be true, unless other strikers do well, like i.e., you know, because I've been contemplating taking him out for Mateta. But I would keep Ollie Watkins. I just he doesn't become, you don't become a bad striker overnight. You know, I feel like it will click for him, and I just feel if I take him out now, I just know that he'll start scoring. So I personally I would keep him in just for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say, I haven't said it yet, but I think often it's a good thing to say when we discuss things like that. It's team dependent, I think. I think if you're trying to get Pedro in, and it's looking like Palmer might miss the next game, and you're worried because you really want Pedro, because Pedro probably is on penalties against Fulham, and you really want Pedro. You're scared that, you know, a lot of people have a really good asset and you don't have them, and you've got two players you don't want to sell alongside Watkins. I would be tempted to say maybe Watkins to Pedro. In most cases, I would say keep him. Also, to extend what you said, Mark, in 4 game weeks' time, they've got Fulham at home, and in 5 weeks' time, they've got Burnley at home. So the next 5 is really strong. I think Everton away, I'm not convinced how good that is. I don't know if Bramthwaite will be back. I think he'll make a massive difference to their defence. Crystal Palace at home, I think, will rely on how leggy they are, because Palace are a solid team, but they do have Europe Thursday night. So, yeah, a couple might be tricky, but overall, they're really nice fixtures. I think Villa needs some signings, though. I think you know, if you're a Watkins owner, I would look at, you know, are they signing players? Because I do think they need a boost at the moment. Emery may tweak things as well and get a best of them, but I think they do need 1 or 2 players. I've seen a few different players kind of linked to them. Casado, and Nkunku, 2 players I've seen. Asensio might return. If any of those players do sign for them, I think that might boost their attack a little bit. They've also got an international break to help bed those players in. So, yeah, I would say he is a keep, but it is team dependent.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also depending on, because I had Rodgers at the start because he done very well for me last season, and I think it's the same kind of question with Rodgers and Watkins. I do think I would hold Watkins if I had him and I wasn't on a wild card, etc. Or if you're not free hitting either, until at least after the international break. After that, I would consider taking him out if he's still blanking every week, and maybe switch to a Chris Wood, Mateta, João Pedro. If you don't already have them sort of players.
Yeah.
So that's, or even like you could, if you want to stretch up to like a Gyökeres or Ekitike even potentially.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the way I feel.
He's 9 million. He's quite expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ekitike is a bit cheaper. But yeah, I mean, you're spot on, and it's like you mentioned, Steve. There's a lot of good strikers, and that's why it's not a simple answer with a situation. And it also depends your style of management, because there are a lot of players strikers, but they also have some quite good fixtures. Like you mentioned, Mateta. I think Mateta, the game week 4, he's got Sunderland at home. So if Watkins blanks again, you might get itchy feet, and you might you might move him to Mateta, who's got Sunderland, or Ekitike against Burnley. Wood is less tempting game week 4 because he's got Arsenal. That's when he's got Arsenal. But then after that, he's got 2 really nice fixtures against newly promoted teams. So it depends. You've got to think about your management and think, can you stick it out really with him? Because his fixtures get easier and easier, in my opinion, because Sunderland and Burnley as well, like in game week 5 and 7. So if you're going to sell, you know what? Maybe now would be the time to do it if you are going to sell. Or like you said, maybe game week 4, because Everton away. But I just think as the closer you get to it, the more it could be frustrating. But I think if they sign players, I would definitely keep, because I think that Emery's a great attacking manager. Watkins is a good player. Roger's a good player. They just seem to be missing maybe a couple of bodies. Got one more question. It was from this question. So this question was, he would like to know why so many of the elite managers in FPL are so badly ranked after 2 game weeks. He said, where did the elite template go wrong? So yeah, there was a bit of a template that formed, I noticed, in the FPL community. Quite a lot of managers did go for Salah, Palmer and Bruno Fernandes. I would say that was the kind of template that kind of formed. And obviously Fernandes has, got 2 points in both games. Palmer was
-1. And -1 point.
Palmer, got obviously injured, and first game he didn't do anything. So, but yeah, the template has been struggling. I do have my own opinions on this. I think some of it is because top managers don't always tend to go for rotation risk. So, or players who there's doubt over minutes. So while loads of people went for Pedro, João Pedro, like in terms of percentage, it seems like everyone owns him. But there's some top managers who didn't go for him because they were almost more information you had, the worse your outcome could be, because they were thinking, Delap might play. Marasca made some comments as well, suggesting that Delap might suit more physical opponents, which West Ham fitted that bill. So sometimes overthinking comes into it. Like Ekitike, some maybe more casual managers just went for it. He did well in Community Shield, right? But meanwhile, like a lot of established managers, they looked at how risky that was, and they went for a safe pick like Salah, and didn't go for Ekitike. The interesting thing is Wirtz was also kind of part of a template, which is an interesting one, because it's a fine line, really, isn't it? Between because often people say don't risk going for players from another league, but Wirtz came from the same league that Ekitike did, so just doesn't seem to have worked out for really established managers yet, but I'm sure they will eventually recover. Yeah.
Yeah, spot on. To be honest, they always go for safe picks. Whereas I think the people that have done well so far is people are taking more punts. I didn't want João Pedro from the start. It might be my Chris Wood this year because I didn't have Chris Wood the entirety of last season. It could be the same, and that could be some downfall for me. But he is a good price. It's all about the price. Like you go back to Verts, what you were saying. I think the main conversations around that was the price of Verts. People thought, oh, Verts is cheap. Verts is cheap, but he's gone down in price this week.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting because he hasn't hit the ground running immediately because he did play well in pre-season. And I just think he's been about out muscled the first couple of games, especially Newcastle game. He was out muscled.
Yeah, that's the problem, and it goes back to nailedness because people generally thought Verts is quite nailed, at least for a few games, and I guess that's where with Ekitike, while he's the same price, ultimately kind of more established managers kind of were happy to go for quite a safe kind of template. While some managers maybe who didn't feel like they had much to lose have done quite well.
Oh, I just, hindsight's a great thing, isn't it? So, I think, like you said, I think everyone just went for the safest bets. And they can only go by for the information that's available to them. It's funny you say that, Alex, about maybe too much information is, I thought exactly the same. In my original draft, I had Pedro in and Kudus. But then the more information I get fed, people were saying, oh, will João Pedro, have more game time than Delap, or will Delap play more?
Yeah.
So that really played in my thinking. And I thought, well, maybe not, because obviously I didn't, I didn't think João Pedro would do that at this moment. I'd do this well for Chelsea. He was a bit of a bit part player for Brighton. It was either him or Welbeck that would start. And then the other would come on as a sub. And then it was the same for Kudus. I originally had him in my team because obviously the high percentage. But I thought maybe he just needs to adapt to, being in a new team under a new manager. So that's why I didn't have Kudus in. But again, hindsight's a great thing, isn't it? If we knew that they weren't going to do great, I wouldn't have put him in. But it's definitely an interesting one. It certainly is. But I think we're all just got to remember is that we're only in the, this is only 2 game weeks gone. So, it's still early days. I mean, hopefully, like you said, I think these FPL experts that have been doing the games for years, these players will eventually turn it around. And hopefully, the usual players like the Haalands and the Salah and the Palmers, they will eventually climb back up again.
Yeah, I mean, one last thing I would say as well is part of the reason they might have not done well as well is the fact that they went for people like Bruno or maybe players like Watkins because they're trying to think a little bit longer term as well. Because a lot of people who are content creators, they do try to plan when their wild card is going to be, and it's not particularly soon. So with Bruno, they're looking at that Gameweek 3 Burnley fixture, and they're thinking, yes, he's got Arsenal at first, yes, he's got Fulham away, but let's have him for Burnley. So we can't completely judge how they've done until their kind of full plan kind of pans out, because obviously, as we know, with like players like Watkins, they have got some good games. So there is that caveat as well. It is kind of a long, it's a long-term thing as well, or at least for the first few game weeks. So yeah, we'll see how everyone kind of does and how you guys do as well. I hope you have a good game week. I hope we all have a good game week. Wouldn't that be nice if we all have a...
Fingers crossed.
I hope so after a wild card. That'd be a bit embarrassing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a really good conversation, really good chat.
Yeah,
tonight.
really
exactly. Brilliant chat.
Awesome.
Perfect. Cheers all. Speak soon.
Yes,
See you
thank you, and we'll speak to you soon. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.